Have you ever watched someone cheat their way to the top and wondered why the universe seems to reward their behavior? Why does the person cutting corners get the promotion while you're stuck playing by the rules? It's a question that haunts ethical people everywhere, and if you've ever felt frustrated watching someone with questionable morals succeed while you struggle to make progress despite doing everything right, then what I'm about to share with you might completely shift how you understand success, power, and the hidden laws that govern reality itself. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now, here's something they don't teach you in school, something that challenges everything we've been told about karma, justice, and how the world actually works. Carl Jung, after building a $40 million business and coaching thousands of individuals across multiple industries, discovered a pattern that most people sense, but few dare to acknowledge openly. The pattern is this: reality doesn't operate on a moral compass. It doesn't reward goodness for the sake of goodness, and it certainly doesn't punish evil just because we think it should. Has this ever happened to you? You work hard. You treat people with respect. You follow the rules, and yet someone else, someone who lies, manipulates, and takes shortcuts, seems to effortlessly attract wealth, opportunities, and success. It feels deeply unfair, doesn't it? And here's why that feeling persists. We've been operating under a fundamental misunderstanding about how manifestation, abundance, and power actually function in this universe. The uncomfortable truth is that the world doesn't respond to your good intentions. It responds to something far more precise: internal alignment and vibrational coherence. When you look at corruption in governments, market manipulation, insider trading, and the seemingly endless examples of people gaining power through questionable means, you're witnessing a law in action. Not a moral law, but a creative law. These individuals, regardless of their ethics, have mastered something that good people often struggle with. They are undivided within themselves. They act without hesitation, without internal conflict, without the weight of guilt or the need for external validation. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might completely transform how you approach success, wealth, and your own personal power. The question isn't whether you should abandon your values to succeed. That's not the answer. The real question is, how can you maintain your integrity while developing the same level of internal certainty, the same vibrational alignment that allows manifestation to flow effortlessly? What if I told you that the very quality that makes you good, your self-reflection, your consideration of others, your moral consciousness, might actually be the thing holding you back? Not because goodness is weak, but because of how you've been taught to process it. And more importantly, what if there was a way to combine your ethics with the same unstoppable force that seems to propel those without conscience, creating a kind of power that's not only sustainable but actually unstoppable? This isn't about becoming ruthless. It's about understanding why ruthlessness appears to work and then discovering something even more powerful. Let me show you exactly what I mean by looking at the mechanics of this phenomenon. When someone operates without moral constraints, they possess something that most ethical people struggle with: complete internal unity. Think about it for a moment. These individuals don't waste precious energy wondering if they made the right decision. They don't lie awake at night questioning whether they should have done things differently. They don't seek validation from others or worry about judgment. This creates what Napoleon Hill identified as a burning desire with absolutely zero resistance. And this combination is the master equation for bringing anything into physical reality. Here's where it gets really interesting. When you're undivided internally, when you operate with complete certainty, even if that certainty is based on something ethically questionable. Reality itself responds to that coherence. It's like tuning a radio to a specific frequency. The clearer the signal, the stronger the reception. In competitive environments, whether we're talking about business, relationships, or any pursuit of success, this vibrational certainty outperforms moral goodness every single time. Not because the universe favors evil, but because there's no energy drain from guilt, no static from shame, no interference from self-doubt. If you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. This is the kind of content we dive into here, real conversations about consciousness, power, and how to create the life you actually want without compromising who you are. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because understanding what I'm about to explain will fundamentally change how you view success and power. The laws that govern creation, the very geometry of manifestation itself, operates on a principle that most people find deeply uncomfortable to accept. These laws are completely neutral. They don't care about your intentions. They don't distinguish between good and evil. Power flows like electricity, always seeking the path of least resistance, and it doesn't matter whether that path is being walked by a saint or a villain. This is perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of how manifestation actually works. We've been conditioned to believe that the universe is some kind of cosmic accountant, keeping a ledger of our good deeds and bad deeds, eventually balancing the scales with justice and karma. But that's not how the mechanical laws of creation function. The universe is a responsive system, not a moral arbiter. It amplifies whatever vibration you consistently emit with clarity and conviction. This is the hidden truth behind why we see people accumulating massive wealth and influence despite operating with questionable ethics. They're simply aligned with the mechanical laws of creation, regardless of their moral compass. They've discovered, whether consciously or unconsciously, that reality responds to coherence and certainty, not to virtue. What this means for your transformation and your personal journey is profound. Every moment you spend in self-doubt, every decision you second-guess, every time you seek external validation or worry about what others think, you're creating resistance in your own energetic field. You're dividing yourself internally, and that division weakens your manifestation power. The impact of this realization can be life-changing because it reveals that the problem isn't your goodness. It's the internal conflict that often accompanies it. Write in the comments, "I'm ready for alignment," if this resonates with you, because what comes next is about to show you how to harness this same power without compromising who you are. Here's where the real revelation begins to unfold. Ethical individuals, people like you who genuinely care about doing the right thing, often live with profound internal contradictions that silently drain their creative power. You experience indecision when making important choices because you're weighing the impact on everyone involved. You procrastinate on opportunities because you're questioning whether you're truly worthy or qualified. You engage in self-sabotage through subtle behaviors that keep you playing small. And underneath it all, there's this persistent undercurrent of shame about past mistakes or decisions you wish you'd made differently. Now, here's the crucial distinction that most people miss. Self-reflection is actually valuable and necessary for growth. The problem isn't that you examine your actions or consider their consequences. The devastating transformation happens when your ego hijacks that healthy self-reflection and converts it into self-loathing. When you constantly question your actions, when you feel guilty about past decisions, on a loop, when you're perpetually worried about others' opinions, you create what I call vibrational static. This interference disrupts your ability to manifest anything clearly. in a vibrational ecosystem where survival and success go to the strongest, most coherent vibration. This internal division creates a fatal weakness. It's how evil can actually outcompete good, not because evil is more powerful, but because it's undivided. The real challenge, then, isn't to abandon self-reflection entirely or to become morally flexible. It's to engage in honest self-examination without the energy-draining component of shame and judgment. And this is exactly where Carl Jung's journey offers us an extraordinary blueprint for transformation. Through his own recovery from addiction, Jung discovered principles that fundamentally changed his relationship with mistakes and moral failures. These weren't abstract philosophical concepts. They were tested in the fire of real-life circumstances, in moments of genuine struggle and imperfection. The key insight that emerged from this process was beautifully simple, but profoundly difficult to implement. Acknowledge wrongdoing when it happens, make amends where necessary, take responsibility for the impact of your actions. But then, and this is the critical part, refuse to dwell in the shame spiral. Jung learned to understand something that transforms everything. In any given moment, you're doing the absolute best you can, based on your current programming, your unresolved traumas, the circumstances you're navigating, and your emotional state in that instant. You're not always going to make the optimal choice. You're not always going to embody the highest version of yourself. And that's not a character flaw. It's part of being human. This practice of being self-aware and self-reflective without tipping into self-loathing became directly correlated with measurable changes in Jung's external reality. His wealth increased. His sense of purpose became crystalline clear. His relationships deepened and became more authentic. His business success accelerated. Because when you stop wasting energy on shame, when you stop the internal war between who you are and who you think you should be, that energy becomes available for creation, for manifestation, for building the life you actually want. Leave a comment saying no more shame spirals if you're ready to implement this shift in your own mindset, because what I'm about to reveal next takes this understanding to an even more powerful level. What we're witnessing right now, in this very moment of human history, is a crucial evolution in consciousness that changes everything we've been discussing. There's an emergence happening. Call it Christ consciousness, call it divine alignment, call it whatever resonates with your belief system. But what it represents is individuals who are combining certainty and power with genuine goodness. These aren't people who have abandoned their moral compass to succeed. They're people who have discovered something far more potent than ruthless ambition could ever provide. Think about the story of David and Goliath for a moment, not as a children's tale, but as a blueprint for this kind of power. Here's a shepherd boy standing on a battlefield facing an opponent who is physically impossible to defeat. Two armies are watching. The giant warrior Goliath is armored, experienced, terrifying, and David walks out with nothing but a sling and a stone. But what David possessed was something that transcended physical advantage. He had absolute certainty in his values and his connection to something greater than himself. That internal alignment, that unshakable faith, that's what allowed him to accomplish what looked impossible. This level of confidence and certainty, when aligned with good rather than ego-driven ambition, represents a kind of power that evil simply cannot touch. It's about being powerful, faithful, confident, and humble all at the same time, which sounds like a paradox until you actually experience it. This brings us to one of the most profoundly misunderstood teachings in spiritual wisdom. When ancient texts tell us that the meek shall inherit the earth, most people hear that as the weak shall inherit the earth. They interpret meekness as passivity, as allowing yourself to be walked over, as surrendering your personal power. But that's not what meekness meant in its original context. Meekness was Humility combined with unwavering faith and connection to divine power. It was strength under control, power channeled through surrender to something greater. Look at Moses when he confronted Pharaoh. Was that a weak man? This was someone who walked into the presence of the most powerful ruler in the known world and demanded the freedom of an entire enslaved population. Through his connection to divine power, he channeled forces that brought a kingdom to its knees and parted an entire sea. David. Facing Goliath wasn't weakness. Jesus performing miracles, challenging corrupt religious authorities, overturning tables in the temple, none of that was passive surrender. These were individuals who combined absolute certainty with humility before a higher power, and that combination created an unstoppable force in the physical world. The hidden truth here is that real power doesn't come from controlling others or manipulating reality through force. It comes from knowing with every fiber of your being that you're connected to something infinitely greater than yourself and acting with complete faith in that connection. This isn't about religious dogma or which tradition you follow. It's about the transformation that occurs when you stop trying to force outcomes through ego-driven action and instead align yourself with creative principles that govern all of existence. This shift in mindset changes not just what you can accomplish, but how you accomplish it and the lasting impact it creates. Type, "I choose divine alignment" in the comments if this journey towards combining power with goodness speaks to something deep inside you, because understanding what comes next will show you exactly how to embody this in practical daily decisions. Here's what most people don't understand about the ruthless path to power. While it may generate impressive results, even lasting an entire lifetime, it's fundamentally unsustainable from a soul perspective. And I realize that might sound esoteric or dismissible if you're focused purely on material success, but stay with me because this has practical implications for the decisions you make every single day. The real game we're all playing isn't just about what we accomplish in this physical existence. It's about what quality of soul we carry forward beyond it. Think about it from a larger perspective. Power that's built on fear and manipulation serves a very specific purpose in the evolution of consciousness. Centuries of fear-based control, of domination, of the ruthless succeeding, all of that has compressed humanity like seeds buried under enormous pressure. And what happens to seeds under pressure? They don't stay dormant forever. Eventually they sprout, they break through, and what we're witnessing right now is exactly that breakthrough, the emergence of conscious, aligned power rising to meet and ultimately transform the old paradigm. The ruthless rise, yes, but then they fall. History shows us this pattern repeatedly. Meanwhile, those who choose the harder path of integrity are developing something far more valuable than temporary wealth or influence. They're developing character, resilience, and strength that transcends a single lifetime. The consequences for gaining earthly riches through immoral means extend far beyond this physical existence. But even if we set aside metaphysical considerations, look at what happens in practical terms. How many powerful people have you watched self-destruct? How many corrupt empires have crumbled? How many individuals who seemed untouchable suddenly found themselves exposed, vulnerable, stripped of everything they thought they'd secured? That's not divine punishment. That's the natural outcome of unsustainable foundations. So here's the real invitation, the one that requires courage and long-term vision. You don't need to abandon your values to succeed. You need to stop abandoning yourself and your connection to higher power. When goodness is paired with certainty, when humility is combined with confidence, when faith meets action, that creates real, lasting power that cannot be taken from you. Not by market crashes, not by betrayal, not by changing circumstances. You don't need to win fast because you're playing an entirely different game. You're playing the long game of character, of soul, of legacy. There are countless shortcuts available right now. You can see them everywhere. Ways to make money faster, strategies to achieve power more quickly, tactics to manipulate outcomes in your favor. But here's what nobody tells you about shortcuts. Each one you take cheats you out of becoming someone more courageous, more resilient, more genuinely powerful. The slower, harder path through the brambles and thorns is what actually forges spiritual warriors. It's the path less traveled because it demands more from you. It requires that you face your shadows, that you develop genuine strength rather than just the appearance of it, that you build something sustainable rather than something flashy. This journey isn't about perfection or never making mistakes. It's about understanding that the transformation happening inside you, the character being forged through challenges and conscious choices, that's what creates real impact in the world. That's what carries forward beyond any material success you might achieve. Leave the long game in the comments if you recognize that you're building something that will outlast any temporary victory. Because what I want to share with you now brings all of this together in a way that makes it immediately actionable. So if you've made it this far, you're clearly someone who's serious about understanding how reality actually works, not just how we've been told it should work. And that tells me something important about you. You're not looking for quick fixes or surface-level motivation. You're looking for genuine transformation, for principles you can actually apply to create lasting change in your life. If this resonated with you, if something shifted in how you see success and power and your own potential, I'd genuinely appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. It helps this message reach more people who need to hear it, people who are tired of watching the ruthless succeed while they struggle with self-doubt. And honestly, it lets me know that what we're building here together matters to you. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, because this is just the beginning of conversations we need to be having. I share insights like this regularly, deep dives into consciousness, manifestation, and how to navigate this world with both power and integrity intact. You don't want to miss what's coming. And leave a comment saying this message was meant for me if you feel like this video found you at exactly the right moment. I read through the comments, and I love seeing who's on this journey with us. It creates a community of people who understand that we're not playing the short game anymore. There's a video right here that takes this further. It explores exactly how to develop that unshakable certainty we talked about without losing your moral compass. Click and continue with me over there, because what you'll discover might be the missing piece you've been searching for.